Welcome back to Jikook Universe. Tonight we're not just talking about arrivals, flight numbers, or schedules neatly written on a board. Tonight we're talking about something much quieter, yet far more powerful. We're talking about the feeling of finally coming home. Jimin and Jungkook have safely arrived back in Seoul. A simple sentence. Familiar. Often repeated. But behind those words lives a story that can't be captured in headlines or updates. A story of relief that settles deep in the chest, of exhaustion that finally loosens its grip, and of a bond so natural it never asks to be explained. So take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. Stay with us for a moment, because some journeys are not meant to be watched. They're meant to be felt. The plane touched down quietly, its wheels meeting the runway with a soft certainty, almost reverent in its timing. No dramatic jolt. No sudden rush. Just the gentle confirmation that the journey had reached its end. Seoul received them like an old promise kept. 4 days they had existed between time zones and borrowed skies. Hotel lights that never quite felt warm, unfamiliar air pressed against tired lungs, constant movement that left little room to breathe. But now, as the aircraft slowed, as the cabin lights shifted, something inside both of them finally eased. They were home. The announcement echoed through the cabin. Arrival confirmed. For everyone else, it marked the end of a flight. For Jimin and Jungkook, it marked the return to something deeper. Familiarity, rhythm, and the quiet comfort of a city that had watched them grow long before the world did. Jimin stood slowly, adjusting his coat with practiced ease. His body remembered these moments even when his mind lagged behind. Instinctively, his eyes shifted to the side. Jungkook was already there. Stretching slightly, shoulders rolling as if to shake off the weight of the journey. His eyes were heavy with fatigue, but bright in a way only Jimin ever seemed to notice. They met each other's gaze for a brief second, and that was enough. No words. No signals. Just the shared understanding we made it back together. Airports had become a strange kind of second home over the years. Endless corridors. Controlled chaos. Quiet footsteps layered with whispered instructions and unspoken rules. They had learned how to move through it all without drawing attention. How to exist in plain sight while remaining guarded. Jungkook walked half a step behind Jimin. Not because he had to, because he always did. It wasn't protection in the obvious sense. It was awareness. Habit. An unspoken agreement formed over years of shared stages, shared fears, shared moments that only belonged to them. Jungkook noticed everything. How Jimin slowed slightly when he was tired, how his shoulders tensed when the space felt too crowded, how he exhaled when the pressure lifted. And Jimin knew. He always knew. As they passed through the terminal, the early Seoul air brushed gently against their skin. It felt different here. Softer, familiar, like the city itself was reminding them they belonged. Jimin inhaled deeply, grounding himself in the sensation. Jungkook noticed immediately. "You okay?" he asked quietly, voice low enough to stay between them. Jimin nodded, lips curving into a small, honest smile. "I am," he said. "I just missed this." Jungkook hummed softly, a sound of agreement rather than words. He missed it too, the language spoken around them, the rhythm of home, the way even silence felt like it understood who they were. Outside, Seoul waited. Cars lined the curb in neat patience, engines idling under blinking lights. Staff moved efficiently, guiding them with practiced care. Everything was smooth, discreet, controlled. Jimin was well escorted and protected, surrounded by people whose sole responsibility was his safety. And yet Jungkook never moved far. He stayed close enough to notice the smallest change in Jimin's expression. Close enough to react before anyone else needed to. Close enough to remain constant in a world that rarely stood still. The vehicle door closed with a muted thud, sealing them into a quieter space. Instantly the noise of the outside world softened. The engine hummed low and steady, like a lullaby meant only for tired souls. Jungkook leaned back, exhaustion finally catching up to him. Jimin glanced over, watching the way Jungkook's shoulders relaxed as the car began to move. A soft smile appeared without him realizing it. "We're really home," Jimin murmured almost to himself. Jungkook opened one eye, meeting his gaze. "Yeah," he replied simply. "We are." The city slid past the windows in gentle familiarity. Streetlights blurred into golden lines. Convenience stores glowed quietly on corners. Neighborhoods slowly stirred awake. untouched by the chaos of distant schedules and expectations. Jimin watched it all with calm eyes, feeling the weight of travel finally melt away. Each passing block felt like a reminder of who they were beneath the layers. Two people shaped by this place returning not as stars but as themselves. Without thinking, Jungkook reached out. Their fingers brushed once, then naturally intertwined. No hesitation. No awareness of cameras. Just instinct. Neither of them pulled away. Moments like this were rare. Unrecorded. Unannounced. Free from expectation. Just breathing the same air, sharing the same silence. For fans, safely arrived might read like routine reassurance. A brief update. Something easily scrolled past. But behind those words lived tired smiles, exchanged glances, gentle check-ins, and the quiet relief of knowing they had made it back, together, once again. Back in Seoul. Back to familiarity. Back to each other. As the car turned onto a familiar route, Jungkook squeezed Jimin's hand once. Subtle. Meaningful. Jimin squeezed back, eyes soft, heart steady. No matter how far they traveled. No matter how loud the world became. This remained constant. Jimin and Jungkook had safely arrived back in Seoul. And with that arrival came rest, warmth, and the quiet promise of tomorrow. Home was never just a place. It was the journey they always made side by side. Later that night, when the city had finally quieted and the world loosened its grip, Jimin stood by the window, watching Seoul breathe beneath the glow of streetlights. Fatigue settled into his bones, but it was gentle now, earned, peaceful. Behind him, Jungkook moved softly through the room, unpacking without urgency. No rush. No pressure. Just the comfort of time slowing down. You did well, Jungkook said gently. Jimin turned, surprised by the tenderness in his voice. We did, he corrected with a smile. Jungkook nodded, stepping closer until the space between them disappeared. The days of travel, the careful awareness, the constant motion, all of it faded. There was no stage here. No schedule calling their names. Just quiet. Just now. They settled side by side, the comfort of being home wrapping around them like a familiar song. Tomorrow would come soon enough, carrying responsibilities and expectations. But tonight belonged only to them. Seoul held them gently. And they allowed themselves to rest. Together. Exactly where they were meant to be. Jimin and Jungkook are finally home, not just back in Seoul but back in a place where they can breathe, rest, and exist without explanation. Behind every safely arrived update lies a quiet relief. These moments may not always make headlines, but they're the ones that stay.